Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? I feel like that's the appropriate way to begin all of this. I mean, this is just incredible. It's incredible, not because it happened, but it's incredible that it took this happening for so many people to wake up. The amount of text messages I got, Candace, weren't you saying something about Brigitte Macron being a man? Where can I find that episode? I want to look at it now. The amount of tweets that I got, the amount of people that were on social media going, I really thought that what you were saying seemed so far outstretched, but now I'm realizing there's something going on in France. It's just incredible. But hey, guys, I'm glad you're here. We've been talking about this a lot on my new podcast. I've been leaning into speaking a lot about spirituality because it's pretty obvious what's going on. We get what's going on. It's angels versus demons, tale as old as time, ladies and gentlemen. So we are going to talk, of course, about the satanic Olympic ceremony, really a ceremony to honor Brigitte Macron. In my view, that's what we have coming up on Candace. You know, I actually wish we could show you the ceremony and go over it just every second by every second so you can really understand what is happening. But of course, they would hit this because part of what they're trying to do, of course, is to use the mainstream media to pretend like everything you saw wasn't exactly what you saw. Because as I've told you guys, we are now at the point in human history where they are signaling to us that we should not believe our own eyes. And what did our own eyes tell us? Well, obviously, they were mocking the Last Supper by putting on a drag show. So I'm going to show you this still as a beginner so you can understand and see that side by side. I mean, it is exact. It is as exact as it possibly could be to mimic and to mock and to pervert the Last Supper. It's meant to be an attack on Christianity, an attack on Christ. It is a way for them to signal that the devil has won, because that's what they believe. They believe that Satan has won. And why wouldn't they believe that, by the way? We have so many people right now, and by the way, I say this without any judgment because I was one of these people, who are running around not even realizing that we are fighting a spiritual battle, right? They have been so clever. They have taken the Bible out of the school system. They have convinced the West that every fight is about good versus political evil, when in fact, as I've shown you guys in previous episodes, they're just bombing churches. Americans are just bombing churches in every war, while they tell us that it's about something else. Oh, we're fighting this, but oops, we accidentally bombed the church. Why wouldn't they believe that they had won when they have made so many people commit themselves to the idea that they are atheists? Could you imagine? Just like the story of man here. Like it just really, we have a creator, right? We have a Bible that tells us the story of exactly what happened. And then it takes some modern Satanists to come around and to convince you that actually you're from an ape. No, they're like, this is science. It's science, guys. You come from apes. You were an Australopithecus, and then you were like, oh, and then one day you started walking erect, Homo erectus. You started walking around, and now you can speak. And the chimps are still here, and you share a DNA with them. You come from monkeys. And there are people that believe that because trust the science, right? They polluted our bodies every single day. We understand this. We're literally being mass poisoned by the same government that is rinsing the population with this atheism, with this atheist ideology, while convincing people to believe in themselves. You can be your own God. We're now at a point where science is instructing children that they can just choose their own sex. Yeah, talk about not believing your own eyes. Don't even believe your own body. What do you want? Science can make it happen. And still, people did not believe that we were fighting Satan. They did not believe that this was the devil. They just thought that these were just some human beings that were getting it wrong. Like there's no huge plot. There's no huge conspiracy. You're a conspiracy theorist if you understand what it is that they are doing, right? The people that are speaking about this are routinely being condemned. And I understand why. I totally and completely understand why that is, because it takes a lot. It took a lot for me. I had to really commit myself to a long period of research to truly believe that it is plausible that this world is being run by a very small group of elite oligarchs who routinely practice homosexuality and pedophilia and who believe in Baphomet as a deity and who worship a transgendered deity. That's a lot, actually. Even saying it right now, it's like, wow, that sounds really crazy. But it's happening in front of you. And I'm showing you what these people actually believe. I'm pointing you to books that you can read to understand where and when and how this happened, to prove to you that these people have never been out of power and that the elites have always practiced these sexual rituals. They've always believed in this. Throughout every modern society and ancient society, we had this battle going on. Now it's time for you to wake up. Okay, that is what I demand. It is time for you to wake up. So we will start from the top here with a photo of Brigitte Macron. Real name, Jean-Michel Trogneau. Okay, look at this. Okay, that person that you are looking at on the right is not a woman. Okay, I want you to just accept that. Take a second, take a sip of water. Oh my God, what is it saying? It could be possible that like the entire state would be involved in protecting the secret. Yes, that is what I have been telling you. And at great cost to myself, obviously. You saw what happened. The entire mainstream media apparatus tried to cancel me for pointing to this fact. And of course, they had nothing to dispute the fact, other than to say that it was crazy. Thank you, Barry Weiss. Crazy, absurd, said Piers Morgan. You had to just imagine how I was feeling when Piers Morgan tweeted over the weekend after the Olympic ceremony, BTW, what the F was all this about? A drag queen mockery of the Last Supper at the Olympics? Would they have mocked any other religion like this? Appalling decision. That's what Piers Morgan tweeted. I tweeted right back at him. I said, so like, remember when I was telling you a couple of weeks ago that France's first lady was a dude in a bad wig? Yeah. Don't pretend to be appalled. Don't pretend that it's absurd. You are lying to the public. So here is a photo, by the way, just over the years, Jean-Michel Trogneau, as he became Brigitte. As I said, the evidence for this is overwhelming. There is no evidence that Brigitte Macron lived for the first 30 years of his life. There's none, actually. It's actually stunning that in the absence of evidence, the entire mainstream media is still convincing part of the public that you do not have a trans person as the first lady of France. Okay. Not only that, by the way, let's go get that photo back up. Not only that, because this is what you need to see. I want to keep this up for a little bit. Not only did this little boy, Jean-Michel Trogneau, that second photo, I believe they found a photo of him at a pride parade when he was just living as a homosexual man. That next photo is when the transition began, if I recall correctly, and that's a photo from the professor years. And the professor years of Brigitte Macron is when he statutorily raped Emmanuel Macron. Are those not the prerequisites, by the way? Like to becoming a leader of a world country, you got to like be in drama class like Zelensky. You got to be a homosexual like a lot of them tend to be. And are the new prerequisites that you need to have something in your closet like this and the entire state is going to work feverishly to protect the secret being that you are trans? What do you think about the psychological games that are played when the entire public tries to tell you that for having two eyes and the ability to read, as I did, obviously, I read the 6-part series, the journalist who did this, who has never been sued. Nope. They're trying to lie to you to make you think the journalists are being sued for libel. Nope, it's not happening. His name is Xavier Poussard. When I read this series and I went, oh my gosh, there is so much evidence that this is a man. I'm so stunned. I'm going to just introduce it to the public so the entire public knows. And silly me still believed that there was some semblance of journalistic integrity out there and that they would embrace the story and impart their own investigations to it. And of course, none of that happened. Rather, they colluded like a cult to protect the state. And I say silly me, mostly because I've told you guys many, many times that it's Operation Mockingbird and the CIA, and these are not journalists. These people work to defend the state from being exposed. The state in and of itself is worshiping Satan, like the real Satan, okay? It's not a fairy tale. The Bible is not a fairy tale. This is all real. You have a creator. Gosh, you know what, Skylar? Skylar's my producer. I wanted to send you a clip, and I'm actually going to text it to you because I want you guys to pull it live of a guy that was speaking about, I don't even know who it was. I just like flagged it on my Instagram, of a guy who was presumably he's a professor of some description, was speaking about how absurd it is that we live in a society where people come out with degrees and they know nothing. And when he says know nothing, as in they don't even know where they come from. There has been a great illusion that has descended upon humanity where you don't even recognize that spiritual forces are at play here. They are now throwing sexual rituals in broad daylight or on broadcast TV. And after they do it, and when they get caught and when they get called out, they say, oh, no, that's not what you think it was. You're being ridiculous. You're being hysterical. Wait until they start the homophobia, transphobia, dragophobia, not even a thing yet, but they're going to get there next. And essentially what's going to happen is the good people who know that this is wrong are going to be silent. Now, why is that? Why is it that, and by the way, I want you to be clear on this, there are so many people who know the truth, who have platforms and who don't say it. What is it that could tempt somebody who knows that pedophilia is taking place, who knows that statutory rape is taking place, who knows that sexual rituals are taking place amongst the elite? What could it be that would tempt those individuals who have a platform to stay quiet? I'll ask you the question, and we're live. What would have to be offered to you for you to stay mum on the topic of pedophilia? Like if you knew there was a pedophile that was in a position of power, what would it take for you to stay quiet? You know, you're probably going, oh, I would never. There's no way that I would say nothing. Well, maybe some of you are like me and you use your platform and you would actually say something, but the majority of people do not want to disrupt what they perceive to be their peace. They don't want to lose their money. They don't want to use their status. They don't want to lose their place as a politician. They don't want to lose lobbying dollars. They don't want to be attacked by the media because we live amongst many nations of cowards. That is the reality. The men have become cowards. The majority, I would say, too many men, the ones that have not converted to becoming women, right, as a sacrifice to Baphomet, the deity that these elites worship. The rest of them are just, they're cowards. They're scared. Too many of them are cowards, okay? And so I do want to show you actually this clip because shockingly, there have been a lot of Muslims who are out there defending the Christian faith. And I want to show you this clip of Andrew Tate, who is Muslim and who makes a very good point as he approaches the public in protest. He approaches Christians. He says, I'm here in Romania. This is the most Christian country in the world. Why aren't you guys doing something about what just happened at the Olympics? Take a listen.
Guys, I believe most of you are Christians. I'm a Muslim. Yes, this is Romania. It's supposed to be the most Christian country in Europe. You cannot allow them to desecrate something as important as the Last Supper with transsexuals and little children, pedophilia. There has to be a point you stand up for your beliefs. If you have something in life and you don't stand up for it, it will not last. If you have a house, you don't maintain it, it will fall down. Business, you don't work, it's gone. Relationship, you don't take care of her, she'll leave you. It's the same with religion. If you Christians don't start standing up for things, when they mock you publicly and openly, you'll have no religion left. It doesn't matter, it's a matter of time. Especially now, Romania and all these other countries have opened the border. Millions of people who come here are not Christian. And if you don't say, this is a Christian country and we respect Christianity, they won't respect it either. It's the end. And it's the man's job. It's the job of men to defend things. This is what a man is supposed to do. It's man and woman for a reason, but the man is a fighter. The men have to stand up and fight against these things. Guys, this is supposed to be the most Christian country in Europe. When they try this crap again, I expect to see you all at the next embassy, wherever it is. Thank you, guys.
And that is a wonderful clip, and he is correct. And Elon Musk essentially said the same thing in a tweet. He wrote, unless there is more bravery to stand up for what is fair and right, Christianity will perish. And that is because it is Christianity that has been under attack consistently by people who have used so many different various mechanisms to delude Christians into not standing up for their faith. It's remarkable. In fact, Christians are so deluded right now, people that perceive themselves to be Christians, that they will join in chorus attacking a Christian while they are standing up for Christianity. This is obviously notoriously the case. I couldn't believe, and I will admit this was a minority, but there was a minority of Christians with platforms who took the bait on saying that Christ is king could maybe sometimes be anti-Semitic. So they were willing to kind of just push us into this lane of like, well, now we even have to be careful of when and how and who we offend when we say Christ is king. Get out of here. You know what I hate? And I don't like to use the word hate. I really don't. But I genuinely hate cowards. I hate cowards, right? And it is especially when those cowards are men. Because there is something natural and there is something biological in which men are supposed to be the defenders and the men are supposed to be the protectors. And we don't even see this in terms of faith anymore. We don't even see people professing their faith anymore. So I first want to give you a couple of facts about what happened on that stage, because you might be wondering, who did they decide should play Jesus Christ in this drag show, mocking the Last Supper, saying, ha ha, Western world, Satan wins. He wins. Who did they say should play Satan? Were there tryouts? I don't know. I kind of want to know. Were there tryouts? Was it like curtain call? Did people line up in an auditorium and they say, give me your best Satan, but actually you're going to play Jesus Christ in drag, the Last Supper. Could there be anything more meaningful that we could disrupt? We're going to do this. We're going to do this while the whole world is watching, and we're going to get away with it because Satan, in their view, wins. He doesn't. That's the truth. He's not going to win. But this is an interesting concept. Who did they decide? Well, according to the Jewish Chronicle, it was a French DJ and a lesbian activist named Barbara Butch. Haha, so clever. Barbara Butch is a 43-year-old and very proud. Butch told Attitude magazine in 2023 about her background. You can see this, by the way, this headline here. It says, I'm fat, Jewish, queer, lesbian, and I'm really proud. And what we know about this individual's family is that members of her family were killed in the Holocaust. She says that she experienced anti-Semitism during childhood. She found acceptance, having dealt with anti-Semitism, through French Jewish scouts, which she described as a safe space with poor and rich kids where she learned to play the guitar and began to explore her sexuality. So her sexuality was a coping mechanism for her. Okay. Who was the person who put this on, by the way? Who was the person, the artist behind establishing this Antichrist theme? Well, that credit or non-credit would be due to another homosexual named Thomas Jolly. Thomas Jolly, and this, we're getting very little on Thomas Jolly. I don't even know if that's really his last name, essentially grew up as a theater kid, as they all do. Like I said, Zelensky, Emmanuel Macron, they're all theater kids. He got to explore LGBTQ themes in his theater work. He lives with his boyfriend. His boyfriend's also named Thomas, and he just basically said that he's the son of a painter who just grew up in theater. Since high school, he's been in theater, and that he just wants to dedicate his professional career to just poking the bear, seeing what he can do, seeing how outrageous it can get, because obviously a large part of what they're doing is the Overton window, right? So they're just going to do the craziest things. They're going to allow people to be outraged, and then they're going to know it's been done. It's been done, and people will move toward this direction, right? And obviously, we also refer to this as the slippery slope, which has been proven so real that it is an absolute joke to hear any person suggest that it's a logical fallacy. Everything that has happened has been proof that the slippery slope is real. You know, conservatives who thought, well, maybe it's not real. Maybe if we pass gay marriage, that'll be it, and that argument will be over, have learned that no, what instantly happened was they just started tacking more letters on to the dyslexic equation, right? It's LGBTQIA, and of course, there will be more letters that are added because, like I said, these people are sinister. This is real. These people, and I am not referring to homosexuals or people that identify within this party, I am referring to the elites, okay? I am referring to a small group of oligarchs who are running the world, who worship Baphomet, okay? They believe in transgenderism. They believe in incest. They believe in pedophilia. They practice these things as sacraments. They have sexual rituals. I have showed you proof of that on this show. Now, in case you're someone that's just joining and you're going, that sounds insane, please do yourself a favor. Go back a few episodes where we covered the satanic origins of NASA. okay? When we actually showed you, and you can look this up on your Wikipedia. Hey, join me now. Hit another tab. That's what I want you guys to do. Hit another tab right now on your computer if you're at one, and look up Jack Parsons of NASA, okay? I mean, just on his Wikipedia, because this stuff is hiding in plain sight. Figure out what religion it was that he practiced. It was Aleister Crowley's religion, a man deemed the most wicked man in the world when he was alive. He established a religion known as Thelema. They practiced sexual rituals to summon demons. He was friends with the elites. He was friends, by the way, this is a fact. He got kicked out of Italy by Mussolini after he threw a satanic sexual ritual. Mussolini, you can look this up. I'll give you guys time. Go to Google right now. Google Aleister Crowley and Mussolini. And you will discover that this man, who you remember vaguely as you're going, Mussolini, like the fascist one that was dragged in the streets after a war. Yeah, that Mussolini, okay, found out about this religion that was being practiced, learned that they had a sexual ritual, again, attempting to summon demons via egregious sex acts. Okay, Aleister Crowley was bisexual. They would have these nights of sex to summon demons. And on this one particular night in Italy, someone died. And Mussolini found out. He kicked Aleister Crowley out of the country. And you know what happened thereafter? He went to go stay at his friend's house in France. Of course, it's always in France. And who were his friends that were staying in France at that time? No other than Barbara Bush, Bush's parents. Yeah, that Barbara Bush, like a President George H.W. Bush's wife, Barbara Bush, her parents allowed Aleister Crowley to stay at his house. Aleister Crowley was welcomed by the elites, okay? He was a friend of all the elites in America. He deemed Jack Parsons to be his protege in America. And Jack Parsons was participating in satanic rituals and satanic chants as they established the Apollo program. How are you feeling about the moon landing today? Those of you that are reading all these, Candace is crazy. Yeah, because I'm telling you the truth and I am showing you where you can go look for it. These are simple Google searches, okay? The elites like Satan. Now, I had Dave Smith on my show the other day. You guys know Dave Smith. He's wonderful, absolutely wonderful libertarian. I would say he's leading the libertarian movement. And he said to me, we were speaking about this. That episode will be released next week because I'll be away. And he said to me, it is something when you look at how many times these sexual rituals have been exposed throughout history, that there are still people that don't realize, the people who are insisting that the population become atheist very clearly believe in God, okay? They're throwing rituals to counter God, okay? They are trying to bring the devil forward. In fact, Jack Parsons said that he did meet Satan. He met Satan. I think it's called the Devil's Canyon. You guys can help me out in the live chat here. In California, there's something called the Devil's Canyon. Everything that's named strangely, all of these devil and satanic names out there along Arizona and California. Yeah, well, he said that he actually met the devil. And thereafter, the Apollo program was formed after he tried to use his sexual ritual magic, as Aleister Crowley referred to it as, ritual magic, to summon a woman to become pregnant, okay? And he wanted to refer to that child as a moon child. And would you guys know that thereafter, we allegedly went to the moon? I don't know, guys. It's all feeling a bit weird that these satanic people have garnered so much control in our government, that these people who worship sex, these people that are part of a sex cult, who believe in Satan, not just believe in him, worship Satan. And yet you have people that are still asleep at the wheel who don't realize this. They're just like, no, I don't know. If it's not rational enough, I can't believe that there's a God. I can't believe it. But I believe in government. I believe in the people that believe in Satan. That's kind of what you're saying at this point. I just want you to know that. At this point, that is where we are at. Now, I do want to get to some of these responses to this. Bishop Barron actually did a really good job explaining exactly what was happening in this ceremony. So I do want to cut to a clip of that before I tell you what the Archbishop came out and said. Take a listen.
This is Bishop Barron. You know, just a few days ago, I was in Indianapolis for the marvelous celebration of the Eucharistic Congress. 50,000 Catholics coming together to worship the Lord and celebrate the real presence of Jesus in the Blessed Sacrament. So I come from that experience, and I come home, and I love the Olympics, so I turn on the opening ceremonies of the Olympics. What do I see now? And it's in Paris, France, a city I love. I spent 3 years as a doctoral student there. What do I see but this gross mockery of the Last Supper? And I won't describe it any further. Just go online. It's gone viral. You can see it. But this France felt evidently, as it's trying to put its best cultural foot forward, the right thing to do is to mock this very central moment in Christianity where Jesus, at his Last Supper, gives his body and blood in anticipation of the cross. And so it's presented, though, as this gross, sort of flippant mockery. France, which used to be called the eldest daughter of the church, Paris, that gave us, Thomas Aquinas taught there, and Vincent de Paul was there, King Louis IX, St. Louis, France that sent Catholic missionaries all over the world. France, whose culture, and I mean the honoring of the individual and of human rights and of freedom, is grounded very much in Christianity, felt the right thing to do was to mock the Christian faith. A question I would pose, we all know the answer to it. Would they ever have dared mock Islam in a similar way? Would they ever have dreamed of mocking in this gross, public way, a scene from the Quran? As I say, we all know the answer to that. I think, folks, what's interesting here is this deeply secularist postmodern society knows who its enemy is. They're naming it, and we should believe them. They're telling us who they are. We should believe them. But furthermore, we Christians, we Catholics should not be sheepish. We should resist. We should make our voices heard.
So I'm looking into the live chat right now, and I'm looking at some of your comments right here, and somebody said, oh, well, it's always the Jews. I actually want to respond to that. I'm going to tell you why you are correct, but you are also very wrong. Before we do that, I want to first thank the sponsors who have stood by me. You guys already know how much I love Preborn and how important it is to me that whenever I promote any organization, they are quite literally doing the Lord's work, that I am meeting these people and I know that they are Christians, and I mean that they behave like Christians in every situation. And I think that Preborn is just one of the most fabulous organizations countering Planned Parenthood, which is child sacrifice, to be clear. Planned Parenthood is raking in billions. That's because they have our tax dollars. And despite generating all of those vast profits, we know that the only answer to this is going to be us, right? It's you and me. We have to actively steal their clientele, the babies that they are trying to kill. Preborn operates on a very slim budget. I tell you guys this all the time. They rescue over 200 babies' lives every single day with zero government funding. Preborn's network of clinics are situated in the darkest corners of the nation, competing head-to-head with the abortion giants, and they need our help now more than ever. When you donate just $28 to Preborn, you will offer a free ultrasound to an expectant mother that is caught in a crisis because, as most moms know, once you hear that baby's heartbeat, it's the beginning. You just know that you are meant to defend this life, and her baby's chance at life will double. So sponsor a precious baby's life today. Your tax-deductible gift will go directly towards saving babies' lives. You just dial pound 250 and say the keyword baby. That's pound 250 baby. Or you can go to preborn.com/Candace. That's preborn.com/Candace. Okay, now let's talk about the Jews. And I'm doing this, I'm doing asterisks. I'm not asterisks, here's quotations, air quotations here, because you see this a lot, that people who have not done enough research, in my view, who think that this is a Jewish conspiracy. And this is kind of me, by the way, the same response when you get to people when I say I was baptized Catholic and I'm so happy about them. Oh, what about the Catholic conspiracy? They talk about Catholics and pedophilia. And we're going to talk about all of that today because I'm just feeling tired of the cowardice of people who know what's happening and refuse to say it because they're fearful that they're going to be killed. And yes, I recognize the people that we're dealing with are psychopaths. Yes, I recognize people shot a president, a Catholic president, in broad daylight when he was with his wife. Okay, that's all very real. But what is the alternative to that? You stay quiet when we know the truth. We stay quiet and we allow these people to take over the world, which they are very close to doing. We pass this off to our children. Like Andrew said, it is going to take not just brave men, but it's also going to take brave women. And women, you know how to research, and I'm going to give all of you guys the tools to understand what is happening, okay? All of the faiths, Muslim, okay? If we're talking about Islam, we're talking about Judaism, we are talking about Christianity, have been infiltrated. All of them. There is not one of them that has not been infiltrated by a satanic cult that practices pedophilia, okay, listen to me, as a religious sacrament. I am going to tell you what the name of this satanic cult is so that you can now do your own research. Now, I will caution you that you cannot, with this particular name, trust Wikipedia as a source because it's hiding in plain sight. But they have virtually wiped his name from the internet, despite the fact that he has garnered so much power that I am going to show you that a Supreme Court justice who openly worshiped this religion, okay? So again, they've infiltrated religions. They have infiltrated all of them, okay? This ends when Jews and Muslims and Christians come together and root out the Satanists. His name was Jacob Frank, okay? That is what you are going to look up. His name is Jacob Frank. Now, his birth name was actually Jacob Ben Leibowitz, and he was born in modern Ukraine. You will find that a lot of these Frankists, because that's what they are, that's what they call themselves, are out of modern Ukraine. He was born in Podolia, and at that time, you would say that it was, you could also say Poland, Ukraine, the Polish Ukraine region is where the Frankist cult took off, okay? Now, before him, there was a man named Sabbatai Zevi. It's called like Sabbatianism. You can look all of this up. I promise you on my locals page, I will provide you direct links so you can learn all of this so that you know which links you need to read, what books you need to buy to learn the fact, an established fact that these pedophiles are in power, okay? Now, I learned about this quite accidentally, by the way. I didn't mean to learn about this. I was so shocked. I was coming apart when I learned that Sigmund Freud created psychoanalysis to protect pedophiles. I thought, how could this be? How could Sigmund Freud do this? How could the world not be speaking about this? A guy who worked at the archives, learned German, read his notes, and discovered, this Harvard guy, that he was protecting pedophiles, that psychoanalysis was created as a means to convince rape victims who said, my dad raped me when I was a child, these women that were coming in to see him, that they were crazy. Gaslighting them. No, actually, you're just attracted to your dad. That is the origin story of Sigmund Freud. And I landed upon a book. I believe the book was written, and you can look this up, scholars, David Bacon. I'm going to look this up, guys, so mind the typing here because I want to make sure I give you this exact book because I was interested in Freud. Let's see what this is called. I think it is David Bacon. I think I got that right. Yes, it's called Sigmund Freud and the Jewish Mystical Tradition, okay? David Bacon is, I'm pretty sure he is a historian. I think he worked at Columbia, but I'm going to look this up for you guys right here, okay? He was a major influence in how the field of psychology implemented the use of statistics, blah, blah, blah. He went to Brooklyn College. He went to Ohio State University. He taught at University of Chicago, Ohio State, Harvard, York University, and he got quite interested in the Jewish mystical tradition and learned that psychoanalytic concepts actually derived from Kabbalah, okay? It is utterly absurd to suggest that the people who worship, who deem the Torah to be their holy book are all worshiping the Kabbalah, the Zohar. What he discovered in his work, right, and when you read that book, you will see this, was that Sigmund Freud was a Kabbalist, and he starts speaking at length about this great Jewish schism that happened when a bunch of Jewish people believed that Jacob Frank was their Messiah, until they realized, and actually Jews were the first one who expelled the Frankists. They said, get the heck out of here, what are you doing? After they had a sexual ritual, they were actually expelled from the region. They realized, what the heck is this? And at that moment, what the Frankists did was there was a mass conversion because they taught this as a religious rite. You have to deceive and you have to infiltrate. They converted into the Catholic faith, okay? Not all of them, but some of them converted into the Catholic faith, and you will see down the line as you study this that some of them converted back and some of them went to Christians, and that they encouraged over and over again for them to essentially deceive the world through mass conversions. Now, Jacob Frank had a daughter named Ava Frank, and let me tell you how disgusting this Frankist religion is. He had sex with her, was incestuous, openly incestuous, of course, because this is what their sexual rituals were all about, and he deemed her essentially to be the unholy Mary. Now, how powerful was Jacob Frank? Well, the rumors, which I have not been able to find an actual fact on this, is that he was sponsored by the Rothschilds. Now, again, that's a rumor. What I can tell you is he definitely had a lot of money because he purchased a castle. In Offenbach, Germany, Jacob Frank had a castle. Him and his daughter lived in this castle, and people that were Frankists came to them. They worshipped them. They made sacrifices to them. And of course, they had sexual rituals. This is all, I'm telling you, all of this stuff, it should be blowing your mind. And unbelievably, it's all true. Okay? Now, to my French people wondering what the hell happened to your nation. Well, the French Revolution happened to your nation. How did that happen to your nation? Well, the Frankists, during this conversion, and you can look this up, one of the names that Jacob Frank went under because they taught each other to continually keep changing your names, was a man named Moses de Bruschka. He was Jacob Frank's cousin. He was one of the leaders of the French Revolution. So the Frankists went down to France and they went to overthrow it in a revolution, because ultimately they believed that they would inherit the earth through deception, through deceptive means, and a ton of sexual rituals along the way, which they believed gave them power. Now, America, if you're thinking, okay, well, Candace, that may have happened in the 1700s, but there's no way that there are Frankists in America, I'm going to ask you something right now. Pivot your browser, open up your browser, and I want you to look up the first, and again, I'm doing air quotations here, Jewish Supreme Court Justice. The first Jewish. He's not Jewish. He doesn't worship the Torah. I'll tell you what he worships when you look up. His name is Louis Brandeis. You guys know him because you're thinking Brandeis University. I've heard of that. Well, it's a very powerful family. We had a Supreme Court Justice named Louis Brandeis. And then as you scroll through his Wikipedia, you're going to learn that he kept a photo of Ava Frank on his desk, the unholy, the non-virgin Ava Frank, who from this castle had sexual rituals, incest with her father, who had people bringing her gifts, that the Brandeis family were committed Frankists. They believed in pedophilia. They believed in this as a sacrament, okay? They believed in blood rituals on holidays. They believed that you had to sacrifice people. All of this is in the books, okay? They believed people died in this castle. Blood ritual sacrifice. And this is not libelous. So you can spare me, this is blood libel. Because again, these people are no more Jews than they are Christians. There is an elite cabal. And the way that they have done this has been absolutely stunning. Okay? It's amazing. They've done it through deception. They have convinced a bunch of well-meaning Jews that I grew up with, that you grew up with, the people that we know, of course, are not engaging on Passover in blood sacrifices and things of that nature. They have deluded them into protecting the Frankists when the Frankists get caught. Because they go, oh my God, look, they're saying that a Jewish person did this, anti-Semitism. And then well-meaning Jews who have nothing to do with the Frankists raise up and they protect these people who are pedophiles. What is the ADL? Who is Leo Frank? Leo Frank, why the ADL was established, is a person who on Passover murdered and raped a Catholic girl. He got caught, okay? He was found guilty despite having more money than God for that day, given who he was married to. He was found guilty because the evidence was that overwhelming, despite trying to pin it on a Black janitor who worked at the factory. It was his factory where he raped this 13-year-old girl on Passover, as is required of Frankists, by the way. Again, we're talking about a fringe cult of psychopaths that have nothing to do other than hiding and deceiving people to believe that they're Jewish or to believe that they're Christian or to believe that they're Muslim, because they exist as well in the Muslim faith, okay? They have nothing to do with any of these religions. None of them. None of them. These are satanic psychopaths. And Leo Frank murdered that girl. He murdered that Catholic girl, as he was instructed to do, and he got caught. And then what happened? To this day, the ADL is trying to vindicate him. Despite overwhelming, they're trying to use their full power to pretend that that man who had, again, more money than anyone could possibly have at that time, given who he was married to and the family that he descended from, okay? A family which down his line married into the Rothschild family, by the way, to be clear, okay? You're going to tell me that this guy was unjustly found guilty? The girls, read through that case. That's a good starting point. If you're an American, read through the Leo Frank case. Learn everything that there is to know about it, okay? And you will realize he was guilty as sin. Guilty as sin, found guilty rightfully. And to this day, that little girl's family, what's left of her descendants, Mary Fagan's family, are still having to fight the full power of the ADL, who were born out of B'nai B'rith, okay? We're talking about Freemasons that established America and had a lot of power in this country. Again, I cannot state enough that what we are referring to is a religion that is known as Frankism, which became the Thelema religion. It is the preferred religion of the elites, okay? They believe and they worship the devil. They believe that through deception, they will inherit the earth, okay? In that region in Ukraine, which then began to be known as the Bohemian region, by the way, okay? Where Jacob Frank lived, where Jacob Frank's castle was thereafter. And then you wonder why Bohemian Grove is a thing in LA. Why Bohemian Grove? Again, they have also been caught having rituals. So I'm asking you the question, how many times are they going to get caught having rituals before all of the faiths wake up and unite and attack these Satanists? All right, guys, I'm going to take a pause right here to thank another one of my sponsors, as I realize I am going off right now and I'm giving you guys a lot of information, and I'm just grateful for all the people that are sponsoring this show. Among them, by the way, Sticker Mule. You guys see these stickers that we print out always of the show are from Sticker Mule, and they just launched a new store for my show. It's packed with awesome Candace Owens merch, including stickers, t-shirts, and more. So please head to stickermule.com/Candace and check it out now. A big portion of the sales will go directly to the Candace Owens Show, supporting our mission to empower communities and promote free thought. So whether you want to show your support or just grab some cool gear, we've got you covered. Once again, head to stickermule.com/Candace. Check it out now. All right, guys, I'm going to look into some of your comments. Yes, it is true that they worship Baphomet, okay? This is real. And by the way, I want to give you some good news. You know, because as I was falling down this rabbit hole and realizing how powerful these people are, the most powerful families in America involved in this satanic cult. And again, if you guys pivot, because this episode will likely get taken down, you will see how many of these Ukrainian, Galician families started a lot of these YouTube, Google, you know, everything goes back to Ukraine. It all goes back to Ukraine. And I have a lot of thoughts about that, about the fact that this religion, this faith, Frankism, first was born in Thessalonica, and then obviously the second coming, who was Jacob Frank, carried on in Ukraine. And you just see that just this impression today on Ukraine, Ukraine, Ukraine. I have a lot of questions about that. Nothing good has ever come from Ukraine, okay? This religion, this cult, this satanic cult needs to be exposed. And yes, I'm aware that it is a great danger for me to expose it, but at least the information is out there. At least we have 25,000 people watching right now who are now going to learn this and tell other people, and that is your job. It is your job to research this. But the good news that comes from this, and I'm being so honest, because once I fell down this hole and I began studying and I began learning about these people who are not Jews or Muslims or Christians, this peace descended over me because I realized that everything they have done has been about disrupting Christ, about dividing the church. They have deluded people, and that is why it is so relevant for you to know that Sigmund Freud, the father of psychoanalysis, basically, I learned that you could delude and trick people via psychology. That is why they love him. That is why he is taught as a hero, because he was a Frankist, okay? He worshipped, as that person points out in that book, which you should read, he worshipped the Kabbalah. And he gave them a gift in the form of understanding how weak our psyche is, right? That you could quite literally convince people not to believe their own eyes. Modern society was born because of that. And then you realize, again, speaking about how they were always in positions of power, that Edward Bernays, his nephew, became the father of propaganda in America. The guy who credits himself with convincing Americans to eat breakfast. It wasn't even, they weren't even eating breakfast, convincing Americans to eat breakfast. All you needed is the right propaganda campaign, and you can convince Americans to do anything, including to murder Christians all around the world. Because that is what is happening. Whether you are aware of it or not, Christians are being slaughtered all around the world. That is what you have to recognize. It has been a war against Christianity since the beginning of time, okay? This is about countering Christ. They intentionally, if you are sitting this and you're watching this today and you are saying, no, I think I'm an atheist, then the psychology worked on you. It worked on you. Frankist psychology worked on you. You have been deluded to believe that there is nothing more than this, and that makes you a perfect victim. Because once you realize that there is more, that God is real and that Satan is upon us right now on this earth, there is a tremendous relief that comes. And I feel relieved every single day, because there was always a part of me, despite the fact that I was a Christian, that like a little quiet voice that's like, gosh, but like, what if it's not real, right? And now I'm like, this is so real. That little quiet voice inside of me that even suspected that came from a concerted effort from devil worshipers to remove Christ from the classroom, to remove him from the home, to break down the family, to create Hollywood as a model of Babylon, right? Hollywood is evil and satanic for a reason. The Frankists established Hollywood because they knew how it would impact the American psyche, how it would impact the Western psyche. But here's the thing. In the end, Christ always wins. It's refreshing. It's beautiful. You see it. You feel it right now. There's a piece of you right now. Even if you don't believe in Jesus Christ, you have been feeling something lately. We all have been feeling something lately. You speak to the average person, you're like, you feel that something is really, really wrong. Okay? And that is the beginning. That is the beginning of your journey to understanding that there is also something really, really right. And that something is Jesus Christ. It is the Holy Spirit that everybody is experiencing. And I genuinely know that as dangerous as the information is that I am giving to you, as it is a danger to me, it is a danger to my family, I know that the only reason that God gave me this platform is because everything must be exposed. Every Frankist in this country must be exposed. The media is protecting them because they established the media, okay? So it's a very simple litmus test. Who are the people in the media who told you that, no, there's no way that Brigitte Macron is a man, despite overwhelming evidence? They insisted on it being crazy. Who are the people that are trying to work overtime to tell you that Leo Frank is not a pedophile and a murderer, okay? The ADL was established by Frankists, Leo Frank, for a reason. These are the people who you need to stay away with. It is a battle for your soul, but it is a battle, I'm telling you guys, that we are going to win. And I'm going to jump into some of your questions here, but I want to thank finally my friends at American Financing. They do such amazing work as well, especially given today's economic environment. Everyone is feeling stressed out for a lot of reasons, not only because everything is satanic, but also because economically it's just been an overwhelming time. The expenses people are putting on their credit cards elevates the stress. You have to find a way out of that never-ending cycle, and the answer is to call my friends at American Financing. They're helping people just like you turn things around by using the equity in their homes to pay off that high interest debt. They understand what you are going through. They talk to people in your position every day. American Financing is saving their borrowers an average of $854 a month. $800 a month is like a $10,000 raise at work, and they are closing some in as little as 10 days. And if you start today, you may not even have to make next month's mortgage payment. So there is no better time than right now to turn around your situation. Call my friends at American Financing. The number is 800-795-1210. That's 800-795-1210. Or visit americanfinancing.net/Owens. All right, guys, so what can you do? Well, the first thing, let me tell you guys, is get to church. There's so much more here that I didn't leave So much more that I could say, so much more history that I studied. There's a lot behind my refusal, my absolute refusal to bend the knee to Israel, as many American politicians have done. So there's too much that I've learned about their history, about what was done to Christians, which they're alleging now is blood libel. None of that's real. It didn't happen. Well, they're convincing Jewish people, like actually Jewish people, people that practice Judaism as a faith, who are not Frankists, who are brilliant people who could research this and actually tell you what is going on. In fact, I read the books from the Israeli historians, Shlomo Sand being one of them, who has been writing about what is happening. People that have written about the Jewish mystic tradition, like the Christian mystic tradition. Again, not Christian. These people are not Jewish. In my view, they are Satanists, and they have infiltrated our faiths, and we have to come together to recognize this. Most people don't know. They think that the nation of Israel was established because of World War II. No, there was a lot going on leading up to that. Learn about the Damascus affair of 1840. Learn about what happened to Esther Salamisi in Austria in 1880 thereafter. Okay, there were Christians that kept going missing on holidays, and the entire Christian world rose up and began publicizing, trying to point to what they deemed to be a satanic cult. And of course, all of that's been rinsed. Most Christians don't know this, but here's what I know. I know that the division of the church was intentional. I know that to be true. That is why I went home, as they say. It is my prayer every single day that the schism between the Orthodox and the Catholics is resolved, because we need each other, because we know the true history of what has happened, because America has been polluted a lot of ways. The Protestant faiths have just been dividing and dividing and dividing, and I know who is encouraging that. I have looked into those faiths as well. I made a conscious decision to go back home. And I am praying that the Christian audience that follows me does more research, uses this as a starting point to learn more, to recognize that our faith has been intentionally divided over and over and over again, okay? Because, as I told you, that Bishop Barron said in one of his books that, actually the book is entitled A Journey to the Heart of the Catholic Faith. In one of the early pages, Bishop Barron said that the origins of the word the devil, diavolo, it means to divide, to separate. Anything that is not whole necessarily becomes devilish. Whether that's the family, whether that's the church, think about that. To divide things makes them unholy, holy with a W, right? What is whole is holy, and I'm saying this with a W and with just the H. And I've recognized that, and I've seen that everywhere. And I can't think of any greater division than to encourage people to divide who they are. You can divide your sex. You can be everything. I genuinely feel sadness for the people that have been victimized by this, who don't realize they're fighting a spiritual battle, who don't realize that they have been intentionally hypnotized by Satanists, that these people are throwing rituals, sex rituals. In some circumstances, there have been murder rituals. Read that book that I've been telling you to read about Charles Manson, the CIA, and the MK Ultra program, which I believe was established by Frankists, right? And you will recognize that these people have been doing this forever because they know that God is real. They understand. Aleister Crowley practiced magic, and part of the magic of the devil is convincing people that he doesn't exist. That's the greatest trick that the devil ever played. That was the greatest magic trick, convincing people that he doesn't exist. It's time to wake up, guys. It's time to wake up. I'm going to get into some of your comments. Skylar, are you dropping some in the doc here? This person, the early church fathers start here. One person is saying that is correct. Yes, people are speaking about Charles Manson. I'm going to go here and get into some of you guys who are giving me some tips here. I really appreciate this. Thank you so much, Florent, who's watching this, and please share this. Your name looks French to me. Please share this all amongst France, particularly in France, you guys. Speaking of Jacob Frank, he had an affair with Empress Marie Therese. She was a Frankist. It is largely speculated that Marie Antoinette was a Frankist. Her mother, Empress Marie Therese, had an affair with Jacob Frank. Okay? They practiced these sex rituals. She was a part of them. And that is not a question. Again, that is in Israeli historians. I will include the links in my locals. For those of you that are watching this, I would deeply appreciate if you went and supported us by pivoting over to locals.com after this. And even if you give monthly $1, if it's 50 cents, whatever it is, it allows me and my very small crew to keep going and to keep telling people the truth as much as we can, because we're getting killed by the mainstream media. This is it is what it is. But I'm here to serve God. I just don't care. And yes, to people watching this, please, that are French, Marie Antoinette, her mother, Empress, the real story of the French Revolution is a Frankist tale. Okay, the Frankists were behind the French Revolution. The Frankists were behind the Russian Revolution. Okay, it was the Frankists who believed in this, who orchestrated wanting to bring down Christian empires. And it is the Frankists who are bringing down America. And that is my belief. And again, I will provide you with actual books from historians, actually. And to be clear, why I don't subscribe to this Jewish, it's the Jews. All of the books that I have read on this are from Jewish historians, like David Backen, he's Jewish. They've been trying to get the word out. They're not a part of this. Okay. Now, some people don't know it's happening, and they may unintentionally defend these Frankists because they think that they are Jews, but they're not doing this because they support this. We have to stop this rhetoric that doesn't allow for Jews and Muslims and Christians to come together, because that is what has to happen, in my view. We have to come together and defeat these Satanists. This person writes, God bless you. Please be careful. Joan Rivers got killed for exposing Michelle Obama, the Hollywood secret. I appreciate that. I also know that if they want to kill you, they will. That's the truth, and that's a sad thing to say, but at least you'll know who did it. It was the Frankists. We have Bobby Steele. Thank you. Devin Nipper. Thank you. We have Ivito, who says, crazy how people's first reaction was they wouldn't do that with Islam when France literally did that with Charlie Hebdo. Dream Bits, thank you so much. That is a really kind tip. Little Tia as well. Nick, thank you very much. May Dixie. Barbara looks like Crowley, referring to Barbara Bush, probably why Bush married old Barbara. Yeah, this is the kind of stuff where I will tell you where it veers into conspiracies, because, listen, they had sexual rituals. They believed, the hippie generation, the predecessor to that was the Frankist cult, which became Aleister Crowley's sexual cult. They believed in free love as a tenet of their religion. And then they gave that to the world, right? So you had the entire world, after they crushed these Christian empires through world wars, literally bombing churches into oblivion, still going on today. They then tried to establish this free love movement, which is what is, in my view, has become the LGBTQ. Not, by the way, to be clear, saying that people that are LGBTQ or identify that way are aware of this, but they, through psychology, have gotten these people to espouse what they believe as their religious sacraments, right? Again, that deity, Baphomet, has pre-existed this, and they follow that. And it's time for everyone to get properly educated outside of what you've learned in your textbooks. Everything you learned is essentially a fairy tale. It's a fairy tale, okay? This has been and will forever be a holy war, okay? So you got to decide whether you're team God or whether you're team Satan. But to Barbara, talking about how that can veer into conspiracy, there are people who believe that she's Aleister Crowley's son, because obviously her mother, after he got kicked out from having this sexual ritual where somebody died in Mussolini kicked him out. Yes, it is true. She was with him at a certain time, and then she became pregnant with Barbara Bush. But there'd be no way to factually say that she's definitively his child. There's no way that you could say that definitively outside of that being a confession that came from the Bush family themselves. This person says, you're talking about Talmudic Judaism. Actually, Talmudic Judaism is what perhaps you're referring to when I said that when these Christians were being killed, a lot of Christians in the world began writing articles to awaken Christians to what was in the Talmud. But in terms of Jacob Frank, it was actually Talmudist Jews that kicked him out the first time out of Podolia. So that is just a fact. But yes, going to a later time, which you're talking about in like 1840, there were a lot of people that were pointing to verses in the Babylonian Talmud, which they felt pointed to. And I have not researched these enough. I've seen things online, but pointed to the fact that they are instructed to deceive Christians or to deceive people that they believe are beneath them. Now, again, I'm not an expert on that. I would welcome a conversation with somebody who is, but I just want to speak about what I know here because we're already saying so much that is true that there's no reason to veer into any conspiracy. This person writes about Cody's conspiracy, just gives a thumb up. Thank you. This person says, I'm glad that you brought up the Frankists. You should look into the Khazars and the origin of the Ashkenazis. BTW, did you know the origin of the word Cabal comes from Kabbalah? Yes, I did. I figured that, by the way, as I was digging into this. And yes, there is a Israeli historian named Abraham Pollock. And there's actually a lot of historians prior to World War II who received awards for saying that the origins of, which is why it was stunning to me to see Kyrie Irving treated in the way that he was treated, 6 steps to get back to your life, because he shared a documentary which was theorizing that the original Jews, I actually didn't watch the end of the documentary, but the point was he was making that documentary suggested that the people that are inhabiting Israel today are not the biblical Jews. That was the point of why he got into trouble. I cannot tell you one way or another. I have not gone into any anthropological research, but what I can tell you is that prior to World War II, and you again can pivot to your browser right now and look up a man named Abraham Pollock, okay? Prior to World War II, he extensively wrote about, and the Israeli historians extensively wrote about the fact that they were the Khazars. They were like, yeah, here's the evidence, blah, blah, blah. He received awards from Tel Aviv University. And then suddenly after World War II, they said to him, like, this research was not helpful. And they just stopped printing his books. So I don't know. I literally can't tell you. And now if you ask someone about that, they'll say, oh, well, the science changed. Yes, we know. The science always changes. The research always changes. Very convenient. But that's what that person is referring to. I'm just letting you know when he says the Khazars. Now, in case you're not familiar at all with who the Khazars are, outside of whether or not you can draw a line from the Khazar Empire. The Khazarian Empire, my understanding, and I have not done enough research into it, essentially it was an empire. And can you fact check it again? This would be in Ukraine. And what would be modern Ukraine? And let me know in my ear when you dig that up, Mark.
We're checking.
Thank you. I'm pretty sure that it was in what would have been deemed modern Ukraine. It all goes back to Ukraine. But essentially, they were worshiping and doing things that were considered so immoral and so corrupt. And I'm talking about sexual stuff. And I'm also talking about in the way that they cheated people, that they were given an option from modern, I would say Iran, but Persia and Russia, like either you convert to one of the faiths that we think will make you more moral, or we will crush you. And so there was this mass conversion in the 8th century, and you can fact check me on that too. I think it was the 8th century where the Khazarians mass converted to Judaism as the faith. And to be clear, it was the people that were running this empire at the top who were just up to no good, and they carried on their corruption. They carried on their sexual deviancy despite pretending to have converted to Judaism. That doesn't mean the people that they ruled over didn't meaningfully convert. I'm sure they did, but the people at the top didn't. And so Russia and I'm saying Iran because my brain is not doing. Russia and Persia teamed up and crushed the Khazarian Empire. And so there has been a theory for a while that what is happening is that the Khazarians are reassembling, and that essentially they want to crush Russia and Iran, which is kind of happening right now, actually, which is interesting to think about. I hadn't even thought about that until right now, that the elites do seem to really want war with Russia and Iran. But I'm just giving you guys that information so that you can know why that person commented on that. I can only tell you books that I've read from Israeli historians, but they say the science has been updated. So who knows? Now it's what was once established Israeli science is now anti-Semitic conspiracy theory. So I can't tell you what's right and what's wrong anymore in today's world. This person says, Candace, you should look into the Cristero history from Mexico. Makes me worry now that they have a Jewish president. Again, I want to be clear here because I hope that this is clarified, and I'm going to keep saying it over and over again, that it is my belief that these people are no more Jewish than they are Catholic, than they are Christian. Their religious teachings tell them to infiltrate everywhere so that nobody knows who they actually are. And so I try to be very careful when people are like, Jewish, and I know why that is. It's because there's been infiltration there. But these are not people that we grew up with. This is not that. These elites are disgusting, despicable people, and they are pretending to be Jews, like they are pretending to be Catholics. And when you see these scandals that happen in churches and you look at who's actually behind them, these people were never Catholics to begin with. Anyways, you guys, we've gone way over here, and I've said a lot, and now we're going to watch me be attacked by every mainstream media person in the entire world. I don't care. Literally don't care. My kids are not going to grow up in a world that's run by pedophiles. And so what I'm asking you guys to do is two things. The first is, if you watch this and you learn something, is to research and to keep going and to share information as you get it. The second is to please share this episode everywhere that you can, because the more people that know before it gets taken down, because these people have a lot of power, the better. And it's okay, because if it gets taken down, I will do this again and again and over again until every person awakens. And the last thing I'm going to ask you to do when we end this is to go to locals.com and give whatever you can to support this very tiny show, which only happened because I refused to not say the truth when I discovered it. That's why we're here. That's why we have the Candace Show. And I am grateful to all of you guys for being along on this journey. And we're going to keep speaking about this. Thank you so much, guys. We'll see you tomorrow.